Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the MSP Initiative, MSP Talk. We are just about into summertime. I'm excited for it. It's like fully on fire. I see people already out and about on planes, especially in Europe this time of the year, for whatever it's worth. So we'll get some housekeeping out of the way, and then we'll get into the good stuff. MSP Initiative com. This is pretty much where we park everything that we do. For example, this session that we're recording right now will be available in audio format and video format under sessions on mspinitiative.com or on our YouTube page or on our podcatchers. Like, share, subscribe, forward, do all the good stuff. That's what it's there for. MSP Community Minds, thank you to everybody that came out to our Denver MSP Community Minds events back in last month. We are now moving forward with the second MSP Community Minds in Denver, September 25th and 26th. So, check out all the information on their MSP Community Minds tab on mspinitiative.com. And we're going to talk to you about the MSPs, the speakers, the workshops. This is a totally educational event. We aren't asking you to pay one dime to be there other than like the cost of you to actually travel to get there. But we've really enjoyed this. It is absolutely a different format than a lot of the things that you see out there. We are one of many people, one on this call today, who are trying to like change the tide here on how events work in the space. We'll actually talk about that on our call today, but check it out. Of course, the block parties, right? This is what we're known for. The after parties, block parties, all that good stuff. We don't just have one, we have two coming up on the same week next month. One with our friends at PAX 8 Beyond in Denver. This will be the night of June 10th. We're super excited for this one. Definitely. If you haven't looked at PAX 8 Beyond, and if you're not already set up to go there, check it out. It's going to be a pretty cool event, and I would argue is going to be a neck and neck for like one of the biggest events in the space. So definitely check it out. And then on the opposite side of the ocean, going this way, we're going to be going back to Kasea DattoCon Dublin, which will be the night of, I believe, the 12th, 11th, 12th. Let's just click on it. You can click on these buttons, and then it'll take you to registration pages, right? So here we go. The 12th. There you go. Perfect. Notice that there's two tabs on here. One for you're an MSP, one for anything other than an MSP. So make sure you register ahead of time so you don't get stuck typing on your phone at the door. By the way, these are absolutely 100% free. And if for some reason you just happen to be in the area and you can't make the actual conferences, as an MSP, you can still join us, right? It costs absolutely nothing other than to get there. You got to, transport yourself to us. And then obviously once you're in there, we'll take care of you. So check them out under community block parties and mspinitiative.com. Community offers, just some special deals and offers from companies in the sandbox. If you like them, use them, great. And then we constantly are updating this industry calendar on the page as well, which has like, I don't know, over 300 events now. So if you really want to find something to do and not work for some reason, we got you. So there's mspinitiative.com. There's all the housekeeping. I bring to you a guy that takes phone calls and text messages from me on a regular at all hours and all time zones, I feel like. Juan Fernandez with Superops. How you doing today, Juan?
I'm amazing, George. Thanks for having me, man.
No, I appreciate you. You're I say we have a informal peer group going, but you definitely like to hear the ramblings of this bald guy right here. Juan, for people who just don't know you or maybe just don't know your story, I always like to start these with that part because I think it kind of provides background for all the other stuff we'll talk about today.
By all means, yeah. I think for those that don't and have never heard it, I grew up in the IT industry, I guess you'd say, from uh, a very interesting past, starting off in a place that wasn't technologically inclined to, being one of the first generation technologists in my entire family. And by doing that, I've spent most of my life in a number of places getting certifications and rising myself up to engineers and management and operating large businesses and scaling large corporations and doing a number of things. But for the industry here, the managed services industry, most people know me from either my story or have heard me from the past, where I built and went 0 to 3 million with an MSP back in the early break fix days, which it wasn't even called MSP. Figured out how to burn that to the ground and actively, effectively, execute an accidental entrepreneurism. And then on the second round, I went back into the MSP industry and went 0 to 20 million in about 6 years, building a machine and scalable processes that really helped me understand how to build an effective business. So I've been sharing that for a number of years now, and also been, exited back in 21 and had a good opportunity there. Had a wonderful opportunity to write the MSP Owner's Handbook along with my co-author Marnie Stockman, and then also the SASE Edition Part 2, which is, the number 2 of 6 books that we're actually working on. And all those proceeds from those books go back to the beginning where I started, the hard part of getting certifications. So for those people that need certifications, they can go, all the proceeds from the books go back into a fund that funds those people that are looking to get into the IT space. So yeah, it's just been an interesting story. I now am the channel chief. I've invested in a number of SaaS companies on my way out. I've built a number of businesses, and now I'm the channel chief for Superops, bringing the future of managed services to the forefront that I'm excited to talk about. So it's been a wonderful journey. And along those paths, I've met some people out on these lonely roads of leadership. And George, you've been out there, and it's been awesome to find a friend that is forging new paths, and be able to just hang out. And today's no exception. So I look forward to the conversation.
That's awesome. So I want to start off with an interesting one.
Sure.
Don't beat me up for this one. Why is the community approach to the sandbox the way that you like to lean into things versus the normal way things have been running for a long time, right? Like, I know you know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway for everyone else. I mean, we've all been to hundreds, I feel like close to 1,000 events, at least I have, since 2020 until now. And man, whoever built that blueprint back in the 80s and the 90s, these people have been running on this thing for a long time. And for some reason, despite a lot of commentary, it really hasn't changed, right? Like what's old is new again, and vice versa. So tell the world why community is the way that you like to approach things rather than the other way.
It's just harken back to who again, I said this on Richard Tubbs' podcast not long ago. And I said, one of my keys to success in leadership was not looking up to the way people do things, but learning all the things that I think are done wrong and building my path to success on all of the things that I didn't want to see. And when I was going through my journey. So to that point, for me, community was one of the things that I really, really, really wanted, and I couldn't really truly find as I was building mine. I mentioned it at the opening session of the MSP Community Minds that I felt alone, right? And I felt like there wasn't a lot of people that were willing to share with me a lot of what I was doing when I was building my company. They were like, dude, why are you talking to me? And I think one of the things that we have to challenge ourselves is to become the change, right? We see that all the time. Probably people have it pinned on their wall, but we often don't activate the reality of that. And that's the hard part, is that you can't expect community to come to you. You have to go to it, and we have to go into the dark parts of the world to find the people that need the help and actually go and help them forward, right? I'm an engineer, like in the core of me. And one of the reasons people ask me all the time, why didn't you leave, Juan? You had every opportunity. And I say, because there's still a problem. And I can see the answer to that problem. And if I left right now, not knowing that I didn't fix it, it would just eat me for the rest of my life, knowing that I could have made a difference. And it's not that I could fix it, it's that I could have made a difference. And that's where I think a lot of us, when we think about communities, we feel like we can't, we aren't, we shouldn't. We've been told we are not. And that's where I think a lot of that comes from. So when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, you know what? Screw this. We are community. I am doing this. I'm going to share everything that I'm doing with everybody that I know. And I'm going to create that opportunity that I wish was there. And that's where, for me, even now at Superops, the first thing was like, how do we help people? How do we build events that truly help people move their businesses forward? Why I participate with MSP Community Minds. Again, it's meeting the people where they're at, right in the point where they need the help. And that's what I think it means to, when I think about community, it's like, I remember what I needed. And a lot of people didn't go down that path. So, George, you asked, why is this still being run as a playbook? Because a lot of them that are at those points making decisions on where they put their money never came from building it. They
No.
came from a seat. They came in, they were hired for do a job. They sat here, they looked at a few numbers, they said, let's see what we can do here. That's just totally different than coming from building a business and understanding the trials and the tribulations and getting to that point and realizing all the steps that you needed to be successful. They're very different. So you ask why it's continuously done. Well, I mean, there's a number of reasons why, but a lot of it is because we haven't changed it. And that's where the beauty is here, is that we get that opportunity to, as a community, come together to make that difference, to make that change, to make it right for those that are behind us, those that are coming, those that are starting. So that's
No,
why.
we're drinking the same Kool-Aid. It's red. It's tasty. I like it. Up until recently, Juan, like very recently, the name Superops came with things like flash mobs and website landing pages and some fun things that were happening out there. Like that's like when a lot of times when I say that name, that's what people comes to mind.
Sure.
So tell us, with all the opportunities that you had, why did you choose Superops as your landing spot at the moment, and like where are you taking it?
Yeah. I get asked that often, and I will say that was a very small moment in time. And again, I think, as I knew as I was evaluating super ops and the things that the industry was looking for, I realized that everyone makes mistakes. And I can't say there was a mistake, but it was conceived in a certain way, and cultural differences and things like that. Like listening to things and then activating them is always open to subjectivity. And I will say, as I replay the tape on those moments, I look at them and say, all right, well, I can't say I haven't screwed up in my life. You go ask my wife and she'll just open her eyes and be like, really? I think we've all made mistakes, even if it wasn't an intended mistake, and some people may see it that way. Why did I choose super ops? One of the things that I liked about it, and one of the things that I still love about it, is that it was willing to make a difference and to stand against the status quo, first and foremost. Secondly, the tech was very different. It was built on a modern stack, and it was built in a way that came from founders that understand what modern technology stacks should be, is unified. And I'm not saying that to slide anybody. I think for the era of time of what every tool is built, and it operates in the time that it was built for. We are not still riding on horses, right? We are now driving autonomous cars in the era that we live in, right? So it's just an evolution of things. And when I'm always looking for the future, and again, I've been like this for most of my life, everyone knows that I'm always looking to go where the next thing is. I was looking at the next thing. Either I was going to build it, or I was going to help somebody build it, or I was going to do something along those lines. And I stumbled across Super Ops. And as I started looking at what they were doing and how they were architecting around the AI initiatives and the true leadership behind it and their actual intent and the way they have an amazing team built and how everybody was just rallying together, it was insightful. And so I dug in, the further I dug in, the more I got like, okay, I see where you're going with this. If you did this, would that this is going to happen? Like, and I could start architecting the future of what managed services might become. And at that point, I made a decision. I said, I can now fix the problem. Instead of putting on a construction glove, I can put on a surgical glove that fits perfectly. And the problem is that I'm not just issuing pain pills anymore to people to tell them how to cope with the pain. I can go back to the very beginning and I can fix the pain before it ever starts, so that managed service providers in the future never have to deal with the pain of not knowing how to scale their business, not having all the data that they need to drive their business outcomes, not having the productivity opportunities because there's disassociation within the way the tools work. Like all of those things, I call it a death of a thousand cuts. It's just so much of that fracture causes such a loss of productivity and money, which is time, right? So I'm excited about it. This is why I did it, because I could see that I could solve the problem. And again, RCA, man, root cause analysis. I'm looking back to the how do I fix this thing so it never happens again? This is our job. This is what we do as providers, as business owners, as leaders, as we try to solve the problem. And so I'm here to try to solve the problem. And that's why we listen a lot. That's why we're in the community to understand more about what are the problems. And even though the problems that may have been for yesterday, those are different. The problems for today are very different. And listening and that community is feeding the development of this product, which is what's causing it to grow so fast. And so it's a modern ecosystem.
So, the Jay McBains of the world, he actually just posted about this, I think, yesterday. Was like, hey, listen, PSA, RMM, let's just pause right there because there's a lot of other products that surround that, right? But like those two foundational pieces for the companies that have come before us in the space, that are the big guys,
Sure.
like single digit growth at this point, right? Like, if anything, I think what he alluded to was, well, if you needed it, you have it. And I'm like, okay. I mean, remember, for everyone that's listening, right? MSP Sandbox is a sub industry of the greater technology industry, right? There's a lot of internal IT departments that have similar products that aren't called the same things, right? That are in the same boat, right? So what exactly, if I was out there, existing MSP, startup MSP, I guess it really doesn't matter. But if I'm out there looking, what are the categories that you're solving for, right? Is it just those two, or is there a bigger picture?
No. So it's much bigger than that. And again, when you start to think again, paying attention to what the modern customer needs are. Again, I talk about this all the time, understanding the no's you're going to get before you get the no, right? Again, if you're building a product around it, it's paying attention to what the actual customer base actually needs, right? It's not to say that it's not all there, right? I could pull out a junk drawer inside of my kitchen and say, everything you need is right there. It's just a mess. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd much rather have a structured drawer with my knives and my forks and my scissors and everything else lined up very neatly so that I can effectively reach in there and get what I need instead of getting poked by a tack, right? Like, this is my point. Like, when we think about the reasons, what we've done here is we actually just created structure to an unstructured world. It's not that it's not there in some of the other things. It's just how much is it going to take you to build it? We are doing all the hard work and heavy lifting of building an RMM, a PSA, integrated with documentation, with network monitoring, with quoting, with the ability to accept payments, to tie into the systems that are getting you to revenue, to making it fast, easy, streamlined, stitching it together with artificial intelligence to give you the tools to be successful. Like,
Let me pause right there. That's like 5 separate products out. Like if I were to just zoom out, right? Like
sure,
quoting, payment processing, and that whole piece is usually is separate bolt on, right?
yeah,
The PSA, the RMM, and then you throw monitoring. Like the AI part's very new, no question. Like I'm sure we'll talk more about that in a second. But like right there, that's 5 different transactions a month I would have to stitch together, right, in order
and
to.
documentation
Oh,
and
the documentation.
management. And we just keep going.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Well, and the beauty is that when you go and sit in the driver's seat of a modern Corvette, it's specifically fit for you. And I like to call this the glass slipper theory, right? When you put it on, you fit in it. And just like, oh my God, this can't possibly fit. It's the best thing that's ever happened. The same thing happens when you sit in a C8. They custom fit it to you. When you sit in it, that is built for you. And this is why this platform is growing, is because it's built for the modern managed service provider. Like all those things and their work together, and you don't have to go anywhere. It's all right there. Like it's literally, I hate to say, and I will not say SPG, but I will say that it's a completely integrated platform, right? And that's the beauty of what you building it our way. We're so far ahead of the others because yes, you can do those things in others. by all means, it's just going to cost you a lot of money. It's going to cost you a lot of time. And I can tell you because I did it on some of those other platforms. And I can tell you, I like to think about this and I love the getting on demo calls with our potential prospects and customers. And I watch at the very end of the demo call and we leave like maybe 1 or 2 minutes left at the very end and say, all right, you want to jump in here and you want to try this? Click here, put your name in, sign up, watch this. And within seconds, they're in a platform that's 100% running and active with real live data, and they can deploy agents. And within 10 minutes, they can be on it. Now, that's an experience that you can't get from the others, man. It's going to take me 90 days. My time to revenue is like forever. And that's time equals money. That's my initial investment. That's not even my physical dollar investment once it's up and running, right? So that being said,
Let me
I
ask you a question though. Like I want to touch on one thing you just said.
sure.
There's a lot of solutions out there where, like either have to pay for implementation and like, by the way, like, like there is no, like you're going to continuously pay, right? Like there's no one set thing. And then the other problem is because I think there's 5 unique separate, solutions inside of your, with AI, I think it's just another realm. Like we'll put that over top. But like, do I have to more like what do I have to do to learn all of those categories? Like, what does that process look like? Because I think one of the hidden costs to every, I call it credit card fatigue, Juan. Every time I've gone to trade, like swipe, 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 swipe. 6 months later, like I didn't even turn it on yet. Like this happens every day.
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah, well, everything except for network monitoring is all included in our price. So like there's not like it's $150 per technician for 150 endpoints. That's our premium package, right? That's with everything in it. And you add network monitoring, you can buy packs of that if you need network monitoring. Not everybody does. I mean, what if just think about it, what it'd be like if I didn't have to get nickel and dimed at every corner. Like it would be nice to not have credit card fatigue. Like you could build a business quickly, right? And that's really what we're after is trying to empower our partners. Like again, as far as onboarding goes,
Yeah.
migrating to us, I mean, we've created in a way that it's super simple to integrate and pull from all these other sources to get in your data and get moving. I think the funnest part is everyone's like, you know what? I don't even care about that data anymore because I never used it. But now I can, like, because it's so different. Like my documentation is tied into my tickets, my conversations, and my emails. Everything is all there. Like I'm not having to like search around for all this stuff and create all these annoying processes to go find data. It's all right there. And it's all in front of you. Like, RAI summarization is probably one of the funnest things, right? Like it's like, okay, this ticket's like 7,000 streams long. Summarize this in 1 second. Oh, here's everything that's going on. Here's where it's at. Here's what's going on. Here's the last customer communications. Like, come on. Like, this is where I'm talking about when you're revolutionizing an industry. Like, you have to think through the problem and then solve it. And that's really what we have done is start to really focus on that. But again, back to the community aspect. We are listening at every corner. I'm on these calls with people and in groups listening to feed us all the ways that you move, even down to where the button should be. Like I feel like it should be right here. So when people get in it, they're like, this feels too perfect. They're
Hmm.
always looking, it's almost like they have PTSD. It's like, hold on, is this actually going to work? It's not going to fall apart. Like it's actually going to stay up.
Well, to that point, Juan, I mean, I've said it, I feel like 1,000 times. Like, how many times was I mean, I was in the buyer seat and they're like, oh, single pane of glass. And it's like, oh, okay. 80 pane of glasses later, right? Like it never happened. It was a marketing pitch that was real, right? So like
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of or a lot of bit of skepticism, right? When people just read the same marketing lines over and over again, right?
That's why I don't say it. I just use the acronym and throw it in the trash. Like it's such a like we're so jaded toward that word. Like I don't even like to use it, even though it's almost a reality, right? It's like we're tooling toward making that very, very real. And right now, for all intents purposes, like you don't have to move it. Like you're in the same thing. You're not like in and out of stuff. Your views aren't even really changing. So it's very different. I mean, and that's why I think it's being adopted so well. So names like Superops that you didn't hear about before, Jay McBain even mentioned it, like something's up over there. Before I even got here, it was already getting its own traction, right? So, you know, for a 4-year-old company, it's done fantastic things. And so many partners are so happy about it. And that's where community is making the impact, because a lot of the people that are using it are saying, this is the one for us, right? And again, that's the community talking. I'm not out here telling you it's the one for you. I'm saying there's a different reality. Could
Would
be.
you would you say so for the I'm gonna borrow a Paul Dipple idea here, like the maturity of the MSP and the size of the MSP usually changes a lot of things, right? Like, hey, the 50-man MSP looks a lot different than the 5-man MSP, right? And like the processes, the moving parts, the procedures, the red tape, all of that stuff, right? To a large degree, in MSP land, at least here on the US side of things, right? There's a lot of CYA that needs to happen, right? Because we just are in that environment where anybody can cause a problem for any reason, even if there is no reason at all. So, would you say the solution is built to scale? Like, where does that spectrum look like in terms of MSP size?
Yeah, I think, a big proponent around that is there are needs of MSPs of varying sizes, right? In terms of security or compliance or regulation. It's really customer dictated, in terms of how you serve your customer in an appropriate, meaningful fashion, right? So when you look at it from those lenses, you see the upper echelon, larger game players, they're paying attention to very large enterprise type customers that have a very different, unique subset of rules and requirements. And those are the ones that are deeper into compliance regulatory aspects, and they manage budget very different, right? So, but here's the thing, right? We know where our product market fit is, and for the MSP size that we fit well with the glass slipper theory. Like, any MSP that is, 5 million and below walks in and they're like, can I try that shoe on? And it's like, oh my God, it's an 8 3/4 inch shoe, or it's a 12 and, 7/8. This fits perfect. Right. And that's where we see fit. Now, the thing is that we're focused on those segmented sizes of MSPs and understanding the needs of them and the nuances that are specific to them. The wonderful part is that we're continuously looking for those advanced partners and bringing them in and understanding their needs and diving in and saying, all right, here's the way we think this works. Give us everything that you're doing and talk to us through why. And then let's see how we make this platform the thing that you need and the thing that you want. We're paying attention. And I don't know, I think for us, it's more important that we actually meet the needs of the customer than we're actually meeting the needs of the generalized conversation of the industry, right? Like, I've heard this KPI thing for years. And one of the things that I say is, why do I want to be like everybody else? Why can't I be who I want to be and still have an effective and awesome business, right? So with that being said, we allow them the autonomy to create that business, but the solid foundation of opportunity and operational excellence. So we're doing a lot of the tooling that they're spending millions of dollars on the upper echelon to get to that level, to be able to bring it down. And I'll even say this, we have something coming in the future, and I'm excited about it because I'm going to ask you a question. And let me say this to you. If I'm a $2 million MSP today, and I wanted to chart my path to $5 million, how cool would that be if it just did it for me?
Nothing just happens. Like, there's work to get from that to that, right?
But if you knew what you needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if somebody handed me this is exactly what needs to happen in this order, one step at a time to get from where I'm at to where I'm going. I mean, people charge a lot of money in consulting to help you do that, right? I mean, there's no question. I mean, there's a lot of people that do peer groups and accountability groups, or they bring in somebody from the outside to do like business consulting and coaching. And, like there's a whole sub industry about it, to be totally honest. But yeah, if somebody came to me and said, hey, George, here you go. Here's the playbook. Here's what it like, take the concept out of it. And like, literally, you're going to follow this exactly You know what? I give you the exact analogy. It's like Biff from Back to the Future. Here's what you need to bet. Here's when you need to bet it. You're going to be a millionaire. Yeah,
There
sign
we
me
go.
up.
1984, here we come. We were already there
Sign
back
me up.
then. So that being said, these are some of the things that when we think about solving the problems of the modern MSP, what are the new problems? What are the new value equations? How do we help MSPs become more valuable to their partner in the way they are working with their customer, right? I see them as partners more than anything. And so you have to empower them to be successful. And we have to give them all the tools that they need in a way that they can absorb them, in a way that they can use them and activate on them. So
So,
this
so,
is,
so so are you solving for, maybe you're solving for all of these. I'm going to throw some concepts out at you. Time and customer experience and communication and follow-up, right? These are usually areas where people suffer in MSP land, right? And cash flow is like at the heart of every business. I don't care what you are, that's in there.
yep.
And then like organization. What I mean by organization is like, if I bring a new person into a company, it takes time for them to become functional, right? Like a lot of it is just teaching them what you do, how you do, in what order, right? So like if I take those 5 concepts, are you solving for all of those?
Yeah, I mean, we've revolutionized, right? We have like a timer that actually auto starts like on the app, like they don't have to actually put in tickets to start a time. Like they just push start and then they can come back and fill in their time with whatever it was, or the ticket or the issue, and it just ties the time in. So we've changed the way time is done in managed services, which I think is probably one of the things that people like the most. When you think about, activating, the process for success, there's a couple of different ways to do that. Project management is a big one where, we're also integrated into Outlook. So dispatchers can actually like appropriately see where time is and where people are and schedule these things accordingly to their ability and to reduce saturation in those points. So yes, structure is one of the big pieces. And then when you think about on the other end, profitability, right? And cash management, quote to cash. Yes, that's in there. One of the big areas is a lot of MSPs are asking for that end user follow up, the cadences. They're asking for those advanced features. Again, the larger MSPs that are kind of starting to use us are saying, hey, I kind of need like CRM functionality. I don't need the full blown thing, but I kind of need these things. And it's just changing the way, instead of saying, here's a box, 75 things in them that you're never going to use, and you only want 2 of those, we're just cutting the noise out of it and building exactly what it takes to run business effectively.
Hmm. What's your, I mean, this word has been abused.
Oh, you gave me another one?
This word has been abused greatly, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. Like a lot of what made, in my opinion, the companies in the space as big and as successful they are were the integration strategy, right? Like, hey, you can't build everything, right? Like at some point you got to pick your direction and go there. So that means you have to be able to tie into the other pieces, right? Like, that's where these concepts of like we went from integrations to ecosystems to marketplaces. Like it just seems to constantly evolve a little bit, but I digress. So like there's a heavy investment, like for everybody who's come, let's go upstream, and I'll use this example upstairs, right? Hey, I'm moving from what I'm on now to ServiceNow or to
Sure.
Salesforce Service Cloud, right at the very top end, big company.
Sure.
And it's like, but all of the things that we integrate within now in the existing system doesn't exist, and we now need to build them ourselves, right, as the MSP, in order to just get back to where we are, right, ground zero. That's a lot of work, and I would say that most MSPs, regardless of size, don't have the resources internally. They have to like bring in outside consultants and contractors and developers, or they're just going to pay some astronomical number, right? That being said, like Superops, right? You said, hey, we're shooting for like 0 to 5 million. Okay, cool. What about the backups and the EDRs and the security tools and the end, right? Like the, I don't know, 50 other things that have to plug in.
Yeah. And to that point, the way you prefaced this was actually almost like the origin story of Superops with Jay and Arvind and what they saw at Zoho and at Freshworks when they were like, why are these MSPs coming to us for this? This is not a product built for them. I don't understand why they're buying our product and trying to ask us all these things to make this fit them. And there was an ejection point already happening way before, right? And so that has been going on for a long time for us, looking for a solution that actually works right. This is why you're even referencing ServiceNow for those that are like, hey, well, if I just go spend money on the Cadillac, I hope at some point I'll like it. I may not use everything, but I'll probably land up at some point enjoying the ride because I don't have to worry about all these things that have to connect. For us, integrations is one of the opportunities for us, right? Because we're growing so fast, right? We're having to listen to the needs of the customer. We're building a product, but we are looking for those strategic relationships that are the ones that people are asking for. So, like even in the case that we just did our integration with guards, that was a big one. So many people were asking our open roadmap that we have that we publish up. Our community is upvoting all of the things that they want, and that's where we're placing our priority. So in the case of, why are you not following suit with what everyone else is doing? Again, I just said that. Like we're creating the thing that everybody wants, not what everyone else wants, right? These are the customers that want to do modern managed service business, not conforming to the old way of doing business, right? That's not what we're doing. We're actually looking for the new innovative ways to deliver it and then focusing on those and integrating with those partners that are, also having the same opportunities. So it's very, we are focused on the needs of the managed service provider, period. At the other end of the stick is they are making the decisions that are driving our behaviors that are actually tooling to their needs. So that's why you're seeing like the guards integration was like huge. That people wanted that like crazy. So like our community was the one that started that. It got in the roadmap. The next thing you know, they're like, hey, we want this now. Okay. So that's why we did what we did. And many others, right? Integrations with QuickBooks and, Splashtop and TeamViewer and, a number of different brands that we have. We've even built onto open APIs that we don't have a full two-way sync to, that were just customer requests. So we've actually invested our own time, money, and effort to make that happen for those types of relationships. So again, community forward, man. That's what's building it.
That's awesome. What about, I mean, one of the big things, a little cliche here, but got to throw it out there, that we hear about over and over again, I'm sure you've heard it, is like, if, I bought it, I went through implementation onboarding, I'm online, I'm running. Now I need help. I give support. So like my expectation of support's already super high, right?
Yeah.
And I can't get a hold of anyone. Like that, I can't tell, like, that's probably the number one complaint, right? You see, if you go look. So what does that look like? Support.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would have thought that you were actually throwing at me softballs here if we had talked before this about the questions you were going to ask me. But
By the way, hold on. I cutting one off. That's bad of me. We did not prepare for this call. I mean, I'm
I
sure
actually asked you what we were talking about today, and you said we'll see.
Yeah, no. Like if
So
everybody follows this knows, I don't prepare anybody for these calls. We just kind of get into it, and I ask the questions that I think you would be asking, right? Like I come from the sandbox. I was in the trench like everybody else. Like this is what I would be asking for if I was in a buying position right now, right, at an MSP. So like, but Juan did not have any of these questions.
no,
This isn't
I
a
didn't,
marketing.
which is interesting. But it's again, I think a testament to again your character, but then also again appreciate you asking that question because it is a big one, right? When you're thinking about vendor due diligence. And I would say that if there's one thing we win the most at, that's it. Right there is our support. Now, a lot of people say, hey, do you have, chat? And we say yes, but it's not the kind of chat that you would expect. We have direct chat to us, you to us, so that you can ask anything you need so that we can be there for you to help you build this thing. So that's not an extra cost. It's not an extra fee. You can ask, chat, question. We get things, help you put things on the roadmap. Hey, by the way, that's on the roadmap. It's coming here. Yeah, that's where we focus and we actually win the most is because so many people say, you know what? Hands down, your support is probably one of the best things I've ever seen in this space. I cannot get a hold of anybody on these other platforms. And that pushes people over because during their trial, which is 14 days, they can make a quick decision. And again, if you think about moving, having a heart transplant, and you can make a decision in 14 days, that says a lot, right? You have to have seen an awful lot of something to say, I'm willing to go under the knife for that. And that's the beauty of it. This is what I get to see. And this is the joy that I get to take back is that knowing that we're doing the right thing, knowing that we're answering the customer's questions, knowing that we're taking care of them. I can sleep at night knowing that. And
Hmm.
so support is our biggest thing, George, and it's fantastic. Again, will it always be our strength? I think every company goes through that, and they're really wonderful maybe in the beginning, some maybe not, but for us, I somebody asked me this question recently, how good is your support? And I said to him, it's 7 years from being bad. And he laughed and he goes, dude, I like the fact that you're honest. And I said, just being honest, we're going to get big one day. And I don't know. I mean, if the customers aren't asking for support, do we continue to invest? I mean, it could dwindle, but I'm being honest with you. Right now, it's amazing. So, and they
Uh,
bought because of that statement, as a matter of fact. So they were like, dude, love it. Let's go.
is there, I mean, listen, I know I've seen you guys obviously here domestically. I know you've done a stuff over in UK as well. Like I know there's an international effort here on your side, but like, you know, where do Pete like you like how does the company laid out, right? What's the US part of the company look like versus the overseas? Like I know you're probably going to be playing down in APAC as well. We all follow the English speaking countries first because that's just the easiest place to start. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. How's it laid out?
Yeah, so I mean the company is US based, right? So I actually head up the US team. I actually am the head of the US operations as well. So I'm on top of the channel chief. So our corporate headquarters, as a matter of fact, I have keys to our new headquarters right here. And that is here in Dallas, Texas. And so on top of all the wonderful things that we're doing, we are growing. And so our corporate headquarters is here. We actually have a large presence in the UK as well. So we do a lot of business there. But that being said, our founding office was out of Chennai, India. And
Hmm.
so we have a little over 150 employees, where most of our dev team and our original inbound team only, and some of our sales engineering and most of our admin is in India. And then, of course, I have the outbound team and our community team here in the US with us. So, and definitely a bunch of our sales engineers. So we are growing, but then we also have the rest of the world as well. So we are growing in all those regions, setting up new locations to support those regions. But
Cool.
that's,
So like when you sign up, do you like depending on where the company's located, like am I in a US data center and that's where the data is located? Or if I sign up, I'm from the UK, am I in a European data center? Like, is that part of the onboarding process? You get to
yeah,
select?
you can pick your data center. We have two working on our third. So we are AWS and we actually are in the US East region. So by default, it defaults to that unless you want to go to UK for GDRP, and you can choose that as well as your data center. And then we're working on Canada on a couple others have been talked about. So that's where we're at right now, and all of our data is housed there.
Cool. Awesome. That's checking boxes. Um, Talk to us a little bit about the AI part of this, because like I just
Sure.
call it Superops now, but like originally it was like, oh, Superops.ai, right? It was like really baked into the name and the marketing of the company. Where have you taken this thing? 'Cause like right now, Juan, I mean, I feel like the AI thing is a wild, wild west a little bit. Like nobody knows. Like, yeah, there's a lot of experimentation happening for sure. But like, like somebody came to me the other day, like, hey, I want to, plug my data in the chat GPT. I'd be like, okay, but like, what happens after your data goes there? Like, I would be worried, right? If we're all in this age of security, right? Like, where does that information go? So, like, that's just one
Yeah.
thing that comes to mind. But Where does this thing go for you, this AI piece?
You know, again, responsible use of AI is probably the biggest thing that we talk about, right? And how do we actually do it? So we are not using any public GPTs at all. We actually built our own. So it belongs to us. It is our own IP. We have developed that on our own. But that being said, when we're thinking about the uses of it, again, security is our first priority. So a lot, we just passed our SOC 2, and a lot of that was because we were able to answer all of those security questions. We've had a number of security audits. We continuously test our infrastructure and pay attention to like the responsible uses of code, as well as the code bases and the way we code and the way we program and the way we build. But that being said, how do we use AI? We're focusing on like the outcomes, right? How do you want to use AI? Instead of you going out and dumping your data into something to try to get it and put yourself in harm's way, we're doing that, right? We're actually, taking documentation. One of the interesting ways that we do it is, imagine a world where, again, you said earlier, your tickets, you're getting people spun up, whether it be a new user or a new employee. Same scenario. There's a process for that. Now imagine that your new employee. How do I empower the employees of the future, right? I have to teach them really quickly on how to solve problems. So when I think about a ticket that comes through, let's say I get one that passes by. Okay, printer repair ticket. Spent 4 hours on trying to figure it out. Same scenario, another person, another printer ticket floats by. Somebody else spends 4 hours on it. You know as well as I do, that's not, your customer is not going to pay 4 hours for you to fix a printer driver. They're going to pay you 30 seconds or contest the ticket. So I'm gunning these losses here, right? So AI, if you were to look at it in our platform, a couple different ways. One of them is I could look at my ticket opportunities and see where I'm losing the most and say, where are all my hot tickets? And who is the technician that is needing the most help? Who's taking the longest on the tickets? Who's pushing outside SLAs? Simply just boop, glean over every ticket in the org. Here's a report. Boom, in front of me. Now I can make quick decisions. It's in front of me on a constant basis. I can see these things as they're happening, so I can turn the dial to fix the problem. On the other end of the stick, I don't want to fire them. So how do I help them? What if when these tickets were coming in and all of a sudden there was an issue that came across that said printer ticket, and it said, you know what? Hey, by the way, you have solved this printer situation that looks relatively similar this many times, this many ways. There's no run book for this in this customer. Would you like us to take this data and give you the step by step and compile all these things to fix that problem? Now, all of
Yes.
a sudden, now
Yes.
all of a sudden I have a process for success that this person can activate and give it a thumbs up, right? And then all of a sudden now I've enabled others behind me to not have to deal with the same problem over again. It's solving the problems for them based on the information. So they're enticed to want to contribute to the system to make it better and effective. Again, back to the challenge of the documentation, right? One of the things that we don't like to do the most is put in the documentation. But if it was working for me, if it was working for me now, and I only have to do it once, all of a sudden this combination of opportunities now arrives, and that's what AI is doing. And again, then forecasting the future of your business, right? How do you want to see, like, what's your business look like? Like, I got 75 customers. Who's the customer that that's paying me the most, that I'm making the least on, right? And what's happening with that customer? Why? Why is that happening? Can I
That's
ask?
another that's another product, by the way. That's usually a separate fee.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I know, right? And this is what AI is doing anyways, right? It's already solving these problems. So we're just ingesting those things to A, empower people, B, to give the business owner clear direction on their business and where the problems lie, and give them visibility into the future of how to be successful. All of those things are how we're using AI. And how is the data being used? Okay, so the data is being used to each business, right? So it's containerized. It's actually it's built in a way that only you have access to your data. Like, that tenant belongs to you. The data that's in it is only visible to you. If you're putting in documentation and storing passwords and all that stuff, all of that is you. But the AI in your business can look across those things. And again, I think the other thing, which I think a lot of people hear about is like sentiment, right? We have the ability in tickets to give people the ability to click summarize ticket to read it so I can ingest it, but it also can change and copy. You can take that content and put it into a communication with a customer that says, hey, let's give this ticket summary to a customer and let's change the sentiment to a kind voice or something along those lines. And then you can actually stick that in and then hit send. And now I don't have to train people on soft skills, but I can train people on soft skills. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
When I just think about bringing on one new employee, if I put the quarter in the machine, how much noise does it make or where does it get stuck? Now the system is helping them along their way to give them success, which means business success, which means customer success, which means employee success, which means financial success, right? This is where we're using AI.
Wow. I mean, number one, the fact that you own the IP and like you built it, uh, that's the reverse of what everybody else is like, I don't want to build this. I'm just going to piggyback off of everybody else because, like, quite frankly, I got other things to do. So, that, number one, that's really cool. The fact that, you know, you effectively are going to people saying, hey, I don't know what's happening if you go and connect into all these other guys, but here, like, you're in your own bubble. That data is not egressing. Like, that's kind of, it's not kind of, it's very important. I can't stress that enough. I'm not Matt Lee or Johnson or any of these guys out there. Real smart guys, but like, man, that is super important.
Well, and this
Um,
is why integrating with your email and becoming your email as well. So we also, in our communication tools, you don't need an email domain. Like we spin up your domain, a domain for you. So all your communications, all of that is in there and it's learning from you. It's
hmm,
not learning from the world around it. You're programming it. So, and again, it's been conditioned to do these things, but again, it's focused on the value of them, not the value of others. So,
interesting. Um, so I mean, this is like, let me go back to my '80s references since we already went back to the future. It's like a Knight Rider before cars drove themselves, right? This is where we want to go. So you worked backwards from, hey, it's 2022, 23, 24. What can we do today to, like, solve the end goal?
yeah.
Wow. I mean, listen, there's a lot of great stuff you got, and
Well, and now you know why I'm
you did
sitting
say
here, George.
you did say earlier there's even more stuff coming we didn't even talk about. But yeah, no,
There is
that's
more. And I will say, for those that are interested, and again, just watch. I mean, just listen, just be part of the story, right? Like if you're thinking about your business and the ways that you want to move forward, just keep your eyes open. The future is never the present, right? So sitting in the same place expecting a different result might not be the thing you should be doing. But I'm not saying do something different. Depends on your path to success, right? But keep your eyes open, skate to puck where the puck is going and just explore a little bit. I mean, we're all excited about AI, but have you thought about what AI can actually really do for you without having to build it yourself? So,
well, the answer is we don't know, right? It's really new, but I'm sure you have a different answer to that. One last question on the way out the door. Do I have to sign a 3-year contract to sign up for Superops?
don't, dude. Yeah, no, there's no contract required. We do have monthly and annual terms.
Okay.
The annual term is discounted, so there is a benefit from a cost-based analysis to doing it, if in case that's a path you want to go. But for all intents purposes, you can buy licenses, upgrade, downgrade at any point in time. I mean, we're not, again, that's the thing about handcuffs, right? They're never comfortable. So why do we do it? And I get why from a financial perspective, and I get it from an investor perspective. I also recognize that if you have a product that's driven by your partners and they love it, I don't have to put handcuffs on you. So
Mhm.
no contracts for 3 years unless you really want one. I'm sure we could kind of come up with one if that's like I really want a 3-year contract.
in my journey, right? My on the other side of the railroad tracks vendor journey. I've only ever at one time in the last 10 years, somebody's like, I want a 3-year contract. And I'm like, we don't even do that. Like, I have to like go and ask somebody to create something that doesn't exist. Like, why do you want it? That's how we work. Finance wants it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I got you. I just had to ask the question because people want to know how this works. So now we know.
I will say that a lot of those folks, they're on our Christmas card list in terms of it. I mean, they are like, screw it, I'm going to have two of them. So we're always here to help those that are in need, right? And so whatever we can do to help, that's what we're going to do.
Awesome. Where do people find out more about the company, the product? They want to see it. They want to talk to somebody. Where's the best
By
place?
all means, I'm always happy to show people around. Again, I mentioned early on that I truly do love the glistening eye Christmas child moment when you finally see a gift that you really wanted. And so I am 110% of anybody that's interested, available to make myself and my team available. Shoot out a message to me, hit me up on LinkedIn. By all means, I'll be here, but send me an email, juan.fernandez@superops.com. Or for those that are more comfortable with shooting me a text, send me a text, 505-270-6558. And
Wow.
you get straight to me and I'll make sure you're taken care of.
I must have a record for the number of times somebody's given out their cell phone number on this thing. It's crazy.
Oh, really? Have someone else done it?
Wow. Like I've lost count. I just so shocked every time it happens. So guys, check it out. I know for a fact these guys are out there, right? They're doing a lot of their own events. They're doing a lot of industry events. I can think of 3 things I know you're absolutely going to be at for between now and the end of the year. But I know it's PAX 8 Beyond around the corner. You got to be there. I know you're doing super summits, right? Which people can apply to go to. So I know you're doing those. I think you're going to be at MSP Community Minds in September in Denver. So hope to see you there. I know you're going to be at the TechCon Unplugged in Washington, D.C., so you're going to be there.
Yeah.
What else am I missing, Juan?
Yeah, we're going to be at CanaCon up in Kelowna, BC as well. So we're running pre-days on the front of TechCon Unplugged for those that want to come and want to join the community. We are front-ending their event to bring more community together, as well as at CanaCon out in Canada and Kelowna. So if those are interest of you, come see us. You can also go to our website, superops.com, and click on events. You can also go to the supersummit.com, find out about our events. Again, the MSP Community Minds is events that we will be at as well. Just sharing community love. And so any way we can help bring value to the community is what we'll be doing.
I love it. Juan, thank you for taking an hour out of your day. Guys, this was really cool. I mean, like, this is like actually people building stuff using the modern stuff available, right? Rather than the single pane of glass we'll never see. Or that's what they kept telling me. This session was recorded. It's gonna be available on mspinitiative.com under sessions, on YouTube, on the podcatchers. I can't stress enough, if you're not planning to be out anywhere out and about next month, take a look at PAX 8 Beyond, take a look at DattoCon Dublin. You know, those 2 events are going to be, I know we're running at basically the same time, but like a couple days apart, same week. We want to see you out in them in person. I know you guys are busy running your businesses, and I know we're going into summertime season where like maybe you can get a vacation in. But this is where you're going to learn, right? And this is where you're going to network with the people. And quite frankly, I think that's the best thing we all get from these things, right? Like actually talking to everybody like informally over a beer, maybe, and like figuring out what's going on. Juan, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure,
See
man.
you next month. And for everybody else, catch you on the next one.
See you soon.
See you guys.